Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. In this tutorial is going to be about the rope locomotion system, and in this one is going to be about swinging with the rope, so you can swing it forward and backwards. If you want to detach the character, you can press the space key and you can attach it again. You can also swing to the left and right sides. And that's it. So let me show you how I've done it. So here on the rope I have made a blueprint class called BP Rope R, and in this blueprint I have casted to my character blueprint, and then here in the begin play I have casted to my character, and also I have simulate physics to be turned on. So as soon as the game begins, I set all bodies below to simulate physics. I get the skeletal mesh, which is this one right here, and then I just type the name of the rope, the name of the bone, which is bone 120. And if you go to the skeletal meshes, you're able to see the bone list, and we have a lot of bones, 120 to down to 0. And then you also have the physics asset, which is used for simulating the body parts, the body physics. So going back to the blueprint, that's all we've got here. That's all about that. We also have the display sockets, which is just display the name of the sockets for you to see which ones are available to you. And this is just for checking if the character is on the right location of the rope, is attached on the right location of the rope. So as you can see, it's printing the name of the exact socket, and yeah, that's about that. But if you go to show and then go to developer and show bones, as you can see, you're able to see the bones that are visible to you. If you press play and attach to the rope, and then you press this button right here, you're able to see all the bones that are part of that rope, right? There are about more than 100 bones, so that you can use these bones and together with the body physics to simulate the physics of the rope. And you can also adjust other settings. I don't know much about the physics part of the engine, so I'm gonna let that with you. So that's about it on the event graph. All we do here is just cast to the third-person character, which is not needed, by the way. But yeah, so in case you need it, then it's just there, but you don't really need that. So all we gotta do here is just to simulate the physics as soon as the BP rope is spawned in the world. Now, going back to the third-person character, I do get the actor of a class, which is the BP rope, which is this one right here that I have in the world. And then as soon as the game starts, I promote that to a variable so that I can access that variable there. So I create some variables here. I have the PP rope reference is attached to check if the character is attached or not, is currently being attached or not in the rope. Rope traced is used for detecting if the rope was traced. So as soon as you jump, there is like a sphere trace that gets spawned on the character's right hand, and then it is going to be used for detecting the rope, as it happens here. The hand gets in contact with the rope and then it starts the attachment, right? And then is in rope area. Generally, this option is for if you want to make this system to work only on a specific area. Let's say, for example, you have a rope. Let's say you have a game world where you only want to activate the system if the character enters a box collision here, right? So you could make that box collision to communicate with the character to activate that variable to be true, so that the system can run. So rope hit bone name, it says by itself. I'm gonna get to that later. Saved capsule transform. This is used for transforming where the capsule of the character is going to be at, for managing transform locations and rotations of the character to the rope. All right, action value X. This action value X is from the, I get this from the enhanced input action. So generally, if you press one of the W or S keys, generally these values are going to be changed, and I only want to access them for the animation blueprint. So when the character is attached to the rope, as you can see, his legs start going forward and backwards depending on which input key I give it to him. And these inputs are given by float variables. So the X would give me 1 to -1, depending if I press the W or S key. And the Y would be to the left or right, or vice versa, I don't know. So I have to debug that to see later. But the point here is that I can use these variables to be accessed inside the animation blueprint of the character, so that I can control how the legs of the character is going to behave based on the player's input. All right. So this is just for changing the legs animation, depending if you press the W or S key, to go backwards and forwards. All right, so that's everything you gotta do here. I just do a branch, and then I don't want my character to move while I am in the rope. So I get, from triggered, I get a branch. And if the character is attached to the rope, this is going to be true, and then this only these values here are going to be executed, and the rest of the code that generally is part of that manages how the character moves in the world is going to be deactivated. So we're not going to be worried about moving the character on the rope and causing bugs. Right? Now, generally, I activate the trace by when the character jumps. So as soon as I press the space bar, as you can see on the right hand, I spawn a sphere trace, which is very useful. And I spawned a sphere trace using a timeline, which is more performant instead of using the event tick. I guess it's more performant. And you can also customize when it should stop. So as soon as they hit something, you can stop it right away here with an event. So let's get it from the beginning, right? Here, as soon as I press jump, then I run a trace to detect a rope, so that we can attach it, get its results, right, and everything. So here we check if the character is in the area that it should be tracing against a rope, right? So let's say, for example, you have a huge map and you only want that area to be affected by if the character should play a rope jump animation or not. So if this variable is false, then the character wouldn't get that trace to be in his hand, right? So the character would jump normally. So that's what it is for. Now, if the character is in the rope area, and if the character is attached already, we can run this code here. But in case if it's not, then we're going to attach it. Firstly, we're going to check if there is a rope in front of us. So I'm going to run a timeline. I created this timeline for with its length of 1 second. I don't actually implement any curve in here because I don't need it. It's actually an event timeline, which works differently. So I just run this timeline for 1 second. And if it doesn't find anything, then it gets deactivated. And that's all good. So here on the update event, I get a sphere trace by channel, which is going to all this code here is going to be on the event tick on tick, so it's going to run at 60 frames per second. I'm not sure about that, but here I get the character socket hand our right hand socket, and then I use that location to spawn a sphere trace by channel. And I don't have much here. I just have the radius is 33, debug type is for 1 frame, and yeah, that's about it. So if the PP rope matches with the hit actor, then we are going to turn on the rope traced, which is, I'm going to talk about this later. And then I'm going to promote the rope hit bond name. So it is going to tell us which bond exactly the sphere trace hit. So as soon as you get a, so as you can see on the top left corner, it says bond 136. Now if I go again, I think it's going to hit a different one. Now it says bond 024. As you can see there. So after we have detected the rope, we're going to stop the rope catch timeline event, which is basically this event here. So I just created a custom event out of the stop execution here, and I just stopped the timeline because I don't want the timeline to keep running if I already detected the rope, right? So now what happens if I press the jump button again? Wait, I think we didn't go to the part where it attaches. Let me see where. Oh, here. Attach character to rope. Attach character. Let me see where this function is. I don't remember what I did here. Okay. So here we have a collapse graph, which we run everything here, right? So as soon as we stop the timeline, we're going to do once. And in case we found the rope, in case the rope is detected, we execute this code here only once. And then we're going to shake the rope on attachment. So that's just going to do a little bit of shakiness to the rope. Oops. I have to fix that later. So it's just going to add a little bit of shakiness to the rope as soon as attachment, as soon as you attach to it. So it's going to give it a little bit of weight and realism, which should be. Right, so we just get the last input, last update velocity of the character movement multiplied by 22, and add a impulse to the bone 084, and that's about it. It could be any bone as soon as it's one of these bones here on the physics asset. Now, after we shake the rope on attachment, we can attach the character to the rope. So here we do several things. The first thing is we set the movement mode of the character to flying, because the character is going to be in the air. We disable the mesh and capsule component collisions. We stop the movement of the character immediately, because otherwise the character would be flying the world. So now here we need to attach the character to the rope. The way I do this is by getting the rope hitball name, which we get from here. We promote that to a variable, so we get it from here. So that's going to be there. And I use this node, which is called attach actor to actor. And the target is ourselves, is this blueprint right here. The parent actor is the BP rope, which is the one that we've got here on the begin play. And then there's the socket name. And then the location rule, I want it to snap to the target. Rotation is the same, and scale rule, I want to keep the world, because I don't want to mess up with my character's scale. Rotate, scale, and then after we attach to the actor, I think it's not enough, because if you only do that, look what happens. The character would stay like that. So we need to find a way to rotate the character in its location, and then make it to hold that rope. So the way I do this is by just adding the local rotation first, and then I add 90 to the Z and 90 to the X. So it gets like this, almost there. And then I just need to add a local offset. And then these values here are going to change the character location. And then these values are the ones that I found that are most interesting for attaching the character to the ledge and making it so that it can actually hold that rope, not have any glitches. So you can always feel free to change these values to see which one works better for you. Maybe you have like a different character scale, and you might want to change one of the settings here for making your character to hold the rope. All right, and then finally we're going to set the isAttached variable to true to notify that we are attached to the rope already. Now, before going to the rope string, I want to just follow this part right here, which is to detach the character from the rope. So here is also pretty simple. We just disabled the isAttached variable to false, and we detach from actor. I was confused about this node right here because I was like detach from actor, but what actor, right? So this is the function that works for me, and the location, rotation, scale rule, I keep world, and it works. So I can detach my character from the rope. So here we get the set movement mode to falling, enable the collision back. I think I don't enable the collision of the mesh back. For some reason, I don't know why. Let's see. Yeah, you have to enable the mesh as well. And then here I do save the, actually I don't do this. You don't need to promote it to a variable, I guess, but you can get the capsule component, get the world transform, and then we're going to set the mesh and capsule component to the world transform by retrieving the capsule component transform and setting it as the new transform. So if you only do that, let me see if I get the capsule component. Let me see what happens if I only get that. So I want to detach from the rope. I press space, and as you can see, my character is not moving, right? The rotation offset and the local offset are kind of off there. So yeah, we need to do these changes here so that the capsule, the mesh follows the capsule again with the right offsets. All right, that's about it. Now let's go to the animation blueprint first. so that I can show you what I've done there. So here on the event graph, I have casted to my third-person character. And from here, I get is attached, rope traced is in rope area, action value X, action value Y. So those are the values I need. So now let's go for the animation graph. So I have made a separate state machine, which gets a lot easier to manage states. And here I have the main states. We go from the main states to jump. So I can show you what that looks like. So firstly, when we press the jump button, when you jump, we go to the jump, and then we go to the rope catch, and then if you wait a little bit, and then we go to landing, and then we go to main states again. Now if you actually grab the rope, let's grab it. Rope grab. All right, rope grab, and then I press the space again. It goes to follow up, and then it goes to land, then it goes to main states. So from going from main states to jump, that's a stylish jump, I think. No, that's a simple jump. But this one is the jump rope catch is a different one. Yeah. So from go from main states to jump, we actually have to be in the rope area. So as I said to you earlier, we need to have, if in your game you have like a world that it's very huge, maybe you don't want the system to be activated every time to search for the rope. So what you can do is that you can add a box collision, so that this box collision can communicate with your character when is it the best time for the character to search for the rope, so that this variable gets to be true, right? I do this variable to be true manually, so I just check that option to be true, like right here, the default value. Or is it? It's right over here. Yeah, so this Boolean variable here is always set to true. So that I don't need to do anything here. So I also get the is falling, so it checks if the character is falling, and then it goes to jump. So if both booleans are true, it can transition from main states to jump. And then from jumping, we get after a specific accumulated time in seconds of this animation here on the state, we can go to the jump rope catch, and then we can go to the rope grab. Now we can only go to the rope grab animation if the rope is detected and the character is attached. Now, as soon as you press the space bar and the character is on the rope, and then as soon as the character detaches from the rope, we get the is attached. If the character is not attached yet, or the character is falling, we can enter the decision to go to follow up. If the character is not falling, neither attached, then we can enter the transition to land. Right. So what else do I have here? All right, I think now we can go to the rope swing. So this swing is basically, it's very good. It's basically very good. That's basically it. So the way I do this is just by getting a timeline, and this timeline lasts for 1 second. It lasts for 1 second. So we add a force here, and I get the EAT move, and this basically returns the current value of the input action of the enhanced input. That's right here, right here. So it basically retrieves what value is currently being. So it basically retrieves what value is currently being in here of the X and Y values. And then it gives you the X and Y values of the enhanced input. And then I used a map range clamped. So what I want to basically do here is just to give the force and apply that impulse to the rope to make that rope to go forwards, backwards, left, right. And that's basically it. So let me see if I can show you. So here we have force. It basically goes from this. So this node to add force, you have the force vector direction to be applied. The bone name, you can choose one of these bones right here. I guess it comes. Yeah, you can choose one of these bones to apply physics to it. I choose the bone 18. So the force is going to be applied to here. So if I give this, if I give the X a force of 4,444, I guess that's not enough. Let me see if I get 35,000, 44,000. So if I hold the W, as you can see, I can go to the left. It adds the force to the left, and if I keep holding it, as the rope is using physics body simulations, you can add the force to whatever direction you want. If I add negative to the X, the rope is going to go to the other side. And the same thing happens if I want to do on the Y, it is going to go forwards. I want to add 44K. It's going to go forwards. So what I basically do is just add a force X to be in here. And as this value, the value X ranges from -1 to +1, I do -1 here and +1 here. And this map range clamped is just basically going to map one value to the other. So if this value is -1, then it's going to be 35K. But if it is +1, then it is going to be -35K, and so on. Same happens for these values here. So I basically add it to the force X and Y. And if you want to add the force Z axis, you can also do that. But I think I would recommend to. So that's basically it. What makes me trigger the timeline is by pressing one of the keys, one of the directional keys, which is WASD, so that we can play from start the timeline. If you want, you can do something like this. If you release the key, you can stop the timeline. Give this a little bit of more length if you want to. Press play. Simulate this to see what's going on. And that's it. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. I think I've covered everything. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can comment down below, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.